Lime Rock Park is a circuit with a storied motorsport history, not as prevalent in the modern day as some others, but we are here to bring the modern GT3 noise and flair to this beautiful circuit in Lakeville, Connecticut. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to round 12 of ARL's Thursday GT3 Championship on iRacing. What was supposed to be the final round, but is actually the penultimate round due to some shenanigans. Final round will be next week at Interlagos, but tonight we are at Lime Rock, the sub 1 minute thriller of a circuit. My name is Jack Mays. Joining me again this week is the ever lovely Jesse Lee. I would say, Jesse, are you ready for a quick race? But it's going to be the same 60 minutes. It's just going to feel a heck of a lot faster.
Yeah, Jack, you said it. Hello, everyone at home, and welcome to Lakeville, Connecticut. Lime Rock Park is one of those racetracks that is synonymous with American road racing. If you are from somewhere outside the U.S. or maybe even outside the East Coast, this track may appear inconspicuous and less prevalent, but this place is one of the founding racetracks of American sports car racing. Originally raced in 1957, it hasn't had any major changes since its opening all the way back then. Comes in a 7 and a 9 turn configuration. We're racing on the 9 turn configuration tonight. The difference, a chicane out the top of the back hill before you get to the no name straight. 1.5 miles around here. Was that about 2.6 kilometers, whatever those are. It is a fast racetrack, Jack. Like you said, we're going to be doing 49s. I'm actually somewhat surprised. I was thinking we'd be in the 48s here in quali. That's yet to be seen with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, we saw a 48.89 set by our pole sitter, I do believe, Piotr Chabilski, in practice. But you're only given 2 laps with the way that this championship is configured, and I thought I'd do the due diligence of starting on time to catch some cars going around the circuit, but, well, as it's a 50-second lap, it's done and dusted. They've already been around all of the 13 qualifiers. There are a few more that are in their garages, I can only guess, or in their pit stalls, rather, but they didn't quite get the cars up to speed with only 2 flying laps, maybe a lack of tire temperature, maybe a lack of feel with the circuit being what it is. It's not super warm, 22.8 degree track temp. Maybe Jesse will see some 48s in the race. The big news tonight, though, we are on the cusp of crowning the champion. Paul O'Malley currently leads this championship by 24 points. If he leaves here tonight outscoring Michael Hickman enough to the point that he is at least 26 points ahead, he will be crowned the champion without needing to go to the championship round, though I do assume that Paul will be joining us at Interlagos because, well, he enjoys this as much as we enjoy it, Jesse. This every week has been an absolute joy, and I think it's the same story as last time around, where I was like, not that many cars, but small, super short circuit. It's going to feel like a busy track out there. I think the time differences are going to be such that, you know, if you're 2 seconds a lap off the pace on a smaller circuit, doesn't feel like much. On this circuit, that means you're going to get lapped once, maybe 2 times across the hour. But I think nobody else has gone out. 3 more minutes in qualifying, Jesse. I do think this will be our order as it stands.
Yeah, it certainly looks like Piotr Chabilski is going to be on your provisional pole in his Ford Mustang GT3. A 49.592, the mark to beat. Michael Hickman, the man who has to outrun Paul O'Malley tonight to have a chance to fight for the championship at Interlagos at the decider next week, is on the outside of the front row. James O'Brien and Paul O'Malley share row number 2. Barkley and Emery DePasquale are the next 2 in line, and then it's Johnson, Gallant, Madonna, Borman, Sanabria, Sosi, and Paldial are the 13 cars that have taken time. We don't know if there'll be more that come in the waning moments or potentially not qualifying at all, which would keep them from showing up on the timing and scoring. But those are the 13 cars that have run their 2 laps tonight. Quarter of a second the gap first to second, another 10th back to third and fourth. Almost a dead tie between O'Brien and O'Malley, by the way. A 9.69, very nice, versus a 9.75. So very little in it between them. And that's kind of the temperature here at Lime Rock Park. That's what you get. You get incredibly close qualifying, incredibly close racing. A tiny little mistake here is everything. You may be able to get away with it at bigger circuits. You can't here. And plus, the odds of being able to save a car if you run off the track here, almost next to nil. That Armco is unforgiving.
Yeah. You see, oh, look, lots of runoff. Look at all that green grass. But grass isn't as good as stopping race cars that you'd probably expect. And there's not nearly as much of it. Chances are you go off somewhere, you're going to find yourself into a wall, probably missing a bit of important race car bits. The 4 drivers that are currently in the session, but that haven't taken to the circuit yet, are Cody Baumeister, Taylor Williams, Mason Bechtold, and Daniel Kent. Hope is they'll join us on circuit, maybe electing not to qualify. This short of a circuit, you'd think, maybe not qualifying is a good idea, but overtaking comes at a premium at Lime Rock, so it might be a bit tricky for them. There's been such great racing all throughout this season that I can only anticipate that we will get some high quality moments, some unexpected and a bit risky moves, but I think everything's going to be well judged. Everybody here does a pretty excellent job. We're in the waning moments of the qualifying time. Nobody's rolling around. Nobody's setting times, which means we will be heading to the formation lap in just a moment. That is usually a short formation. Will probably end up being the better part of the entire circuit. This is the shortest track of the calendar, and chaos was the word last week, Jesse. I believe at St. Petersburg. Do we think it's going to be the same thing here tonight?
I think it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be the same sort of tempo we saw the last couple of weeks, partner. I think what we're going to see is a lot of drivers sort of getting themselves into trouble with the confines. It is a track of elevation, especially once you get past the chicane and up the no-name straight. It all falls away. It's very tricky indeed. It's a technical circuit. It's a quick circuit, 1.5 miles around, but it is also one of those places that sort of lulls you into sleep. You do a couple of laps, you kind of get lulled in this false sense of security, and you hit a curb wrong, or you put a left rear tire out in the dirt. Lord knows I've done that on more than a handful of occasions, and bam, just like that, your entire race is over and done with. Well, that 49.592 for Shabilsky is the pole lap. You may be wondering what the quickest time ever around here is. Well, it was a 45.1 set all the way back in 1993 by Juan Manuel Fangio II in his Eagle Mark III. That was back in the IMSA GTP days. We had color television back then, Jack. You'll be happy to know.
Yeah, that was before I could basically remember. The good news is sports car racing, mainstream sports car racing, is coming back to Lime Rock next year with the IMSA Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge Series, which I feel like not enough people are familiar with that. It's GT4s, it's touring cars, it's absolutely excellent. Most everybody gets caught up with the big main IMSA events, the WeatherTech sports cars. I don't blame you. GT3s, LMP2s, GTPs, incredible, excellent. No issues with that, of course, but just the Michelin Pilot Sport cars will be coming to Lime Rock next year, as well as Mid-Ohio. I think that'll bring some new eyes, or some eyes that haven't seen this circuit in a long time, and maybe reinvigorate a little bit of interest. I said it might be a long formation lap, well, most of the circuit, but no, 1 corner. And I think that's going to mean that Piotr Chabilski, as soon as that safety car pulls in, is going to be able to pull the trigger on the green flag. And it looks like he's maybe doing a bit of a Verstappen race restart. He lulls everybody into sleep with his weaving and hits the throttle and gets going immediately. down the straight into turn one. Just behind him, everybody's stacking up immediately, neatly to form a nice line, but just about the tidiest start you could possibly hope for. It looked like Anne-Marie De Pasquale was a little bit wide, but nobody's in the grass early on. That was absolutely textbook from Shabilsky. It looks like O'Brien and O'Malley are fighting it out, and it seems that James O'Brien and the Mercedes has to duck back in before they begin the uphill section. And usually I'm not one to commentate the first full lap, but why the heck not? It's about another 15 more seconds. Piotr Shabilsky transmits his pole to leading by a little bit under a quarter of a second on the first lap. Everybody seems to have made it through the medal, Jesse Lee, and excellent work by the group.
It was a good start for Paul O'Malley. Got up a spot there, caught O'Brien into the first couple of corners, got up to third, and crucially right behind the man he has to beat to guarantee a championship, Michael Hickman in the second place position. Shabilsky just put them all on notice, was warming up the tires, and then absolutely hit the thrusters on that start. And this kind of illustrates what we were talking about with the track chewing you up and spitting you out. Baumeister in the number 20 McLaren, one little off, and that's what you get. And like you saw the number 6 of Crit do the exact same thing, dipped the tire off, had to back off. That was enough to not only close the gap but give the position back. And you get off sort of your rhythm, it throws you off for a very long time. There's no chance to get back into your rhythm. Michael Hickman looking for some rhythm here under pressure from Paul O'Malley for second place, but perhaps even more importantly than that, this could be the championship.
It could absolutely be. The scoring's so tight at this point that ultimately it's who finishes ahead, Hickman or O'Malley. Hickman takes it to Interlagos for one final chance at the championship. O'Malley on the cusp of securing it here tonight, and O'Malley has to cut the chicane just a little bit. His run up the hill was a bit hassled, and he's already being overtaken by James O'Brien and Dave Barkley in the Aston Martin, looking a little bit hungry. So that's a mistake early on from Paul O'Malley. We don't see many of those nowadays. That's released the McLaren, though, to start chasing down Piotr Shabilsky. And somehow, some way, we're already a few laps into this race, and it's been a few moments. I like this kind of racing. Let's do this here more often. GT3s. I wonder, Jesse Lee, do we perhaps know the last time that GT3s have hit this circuit? Was it even this generation of GT3 cars that maybe raced here before? I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, IMSA raced here only a few years ago, if I recall. I'm pretty sure the first generation of the GT3 Corvette, even as recent as that. That was only a couple of years ago, I'm pretty sure, unless my mind is failing me here. But yeah, I think that the IMSA GT3 cars used to come here and race for several years by themselves, because sometimes, you know, in IMSA, they'll split it. The prototypes will race by themselves with, or they used to with LMP2s, and then you'd have the GT3s racing either by themselves or with support from another class. So I don't think it was actually that long ago at all, unless I'm not very much mistaken. But here is the fight for P3. O'Brien has it. O'Malley back to him. O'Brien able to take that spot by virtue of a little mistake by O'Malley, just showing exactly how quick it is. You make one little mistake and you get behind, and now a spot behind that helps Hickman, of course, who is trying to keep the championship fight alive. A move down into turn number 1. It's going to be close. Corners nearly rubbing as they round turn 1, and a room afforded. Paul O'Malley back up to third. That was well done.
That was extremely well done. I wasn't sure because O'Brien was defending the inside pretty regularly. He thought, all right, I can come back over. Maybe there isn't a space. O'Brien smelled blood in the water, put it alongside, and just kind of kept it there. And of course, the big, wide Mustang GT3 just given enough room to go for that.
Cloudy
so
now.
It is very suddenly. Is rain on the forecast, Rachel? I don't think it is, but it almost seems like it suddenly became a bit doom-laden on the circuit. I hope that doesn't spell any bad things to come. But no, O'Malley quickly back up to third in lieu of that mistake. O'Brien, though, not letting it go quickly. I was about to say that, overtakes are difficult to do, but O'Malley didn't actually have to wait that long. The Mustang GT3 in iRacing, at least what it seemed all this season, has been one of the quicker cars in a straight line. So I'm not surprised that the short chute on the main straight was enough to find an opportunity. Jesse, it's all about picking out those opportunities. They're going to be few and far between, and a lot of it is applying the right type of pressure on the drivers ahead of you and enforcing an error, I would imagine. I mean, that's just typical racecraft stuff. Is why overtake the guy when you could just make him spin right in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about picking your opportunities, because what you really want to do is you want to make a decisive move. You don't want to get in a situation where you're going through Big Bend and the S's and you're too wide, you're stuck beside another driver. What you really want to do is do exactly what we saw O'Malley do, get beside them down the Sam Posey straight and get it done by the exit of Big Bend, and that's what he did, and that's how you draw it up in your head. The unfortunate part about racing is it often doesn't work out that way, and when it doesn't work out, well, we saw some of the drivers get swamped on the start. James O'Brien, for instance, lost that spot to O'Malley quite early and was thrown back into the clutches of Johnson for a moment, but or actually Barkley, that was at the time. But you really want to get your passes done in a decisive way, but sometimes the driver you're racing against obviously doesn't want to give up the spot. They'll fight you tooth and nail for it, and you both end up losing time. I give O'Brien that. Quite a smart move, realizing that, oh, well, he's got me down the inside. Instead of fighting him, just sort of let him make his way through, lose as little time as possible, hang out in fourth place, because, Jack, it is a long race. 52 minutes around this little bull ring. People are bound to make mistakes, case in point.
Yeah, round goes the ass, and they're trying to make their way around Crit Pudial, who's just sort of parking it on the circuit, trying to get out of the way, but multiple cars around. Now still a few cars trying to make their way up the hill. Anne-Marie De Pasquale was involved in that, and a whole bunch of them just sort of concertinaed into each other. That was extremely close. A change for third again, coming for James O'Brien. He's trying to return to sender what he had on Paul O'Malley, but sticking it too wide through Big Bend to slide from O'Malley. Through comes James O'Brien. Extremely tidy racing from the pair, and I really hope they keep that up. This is absolutely excellent stuff, but that was a bit of a clumsy bit of happening there from the group. It's clear that Crit Pudial is off the pace, finding himself a lap down in the first couple moments, and everybody's tripping over each other. 3 cars in. I'll see if I can locate where that began. I might have a replay of that incident now.
Look at this. The Porsche is going to slip. The Porsche in front, this is what happens. The Porsche slips into the chicane, goes wide. The 46 has to navigate that and misjudges it because the Porsche never actually recovers properly, and everybody scrambles in behind them, and that's what set that entire event in motion. Big shout out to Javi Santabria, who just hit the brakes, gave up a ton of time, but didn't damage the car, didn't hit anyone as that chicane became blocked.
I think as a result of that, Mason Bechtel, the Aston Martin driver, or at least I believe it was, has retired from the race. I think a maneuver, an incident like that is just really going to hurt you as far as confidence in your driving ability.
Was Barkley involved in that? I could have sworn there was a 46 on the side of that car.
It might have been. I think you might absolutely
my eyes
be
are
right.
Old.
Not what they used to be.
If that, yeah, age comes for us all, ladies and gentlemen at home. But I'm pretty sure whichever Aston that was well up the order. Now down in 14th place is Barkley, and that's certainly out of place from where they would have been as every single one of those cars scattered. I will say, looking up at the front, Michael Hickman had run Piotr Shabilski down by about 3/4 of a second before all that kicked off, but now Shabilsky has answered and reopened that gap. And while that's going on, James O'Brien continues to lead Paul O'Malley around here. Jack, I've got to ask you the question as we look at the incidents on the racetrack. Pudyal, Barkley, Williams, Baumeister, all of those cars either towing or DNFing as a result from early race incident. But back to my question, James O'Brien's got back around O'Malley. That is the configuration they started in. If you're O'Malley and you know that you have the championship in the back of your mind, I mean, can you really risk it at this stage?
I feel like you kind of can't. I think you almost need to be okay with where you're at. Maybe accept that this is going off to next week. Because one wrong move from O'Malley, maybe a sudden dive, a misjudgment on the brakes, trying to go for an overtake. If it's a retirement from Paul O'Malley, that could absolutely swing the championship back towards Michael Hickman, because like we said, let's say if it goes the way it's going right now, I think the gap in the championship will drop to about 16 points, which sounds like a little bit, but is actually a lot when you're thinking about the difference between one race. The maximum you can score in one weekend is 26 points. That is 1 point for qualifying on pole. That is 25 points for winning the race. And unless Michael Hickman can do that at Interlagos and Paul O'Malley has to score, be out of the top 10, I think he's going to win that championship. So a fourth place for O'Malley is a safe option, and I think at this moment is the right option.
I think you're 100% right. I think sort of the way that they're racing kind of dictates how both drivers are feeling. Of course, here in ARL, we're sort of spoiled when it comes to good, respectful side-by-side racing, and that's what we saw between O'Malley and O'Brien, both going both ways. When O'Malley passed O'Brien and vice versa a lap or so ago, actually probably about 5 laps ago with this racetrack. But I think you're seeing a little bit of that in kind of what you explained, that Paul realizes that they have way more to lose than gain from this. And the silver lining, if you will, the good news is that Michael Hickman is no longer catching Piotr Shabilsky up in front of this field. So it kind of eases that a little bit, as looks like the Mercedes of Daniel Kent driving off the racing surface. The Mercedes does not make a lawnmower as far as I know, and that will put the WeatherTech liveried AMG back in front, up into ninth. How quickly it can change indeed.
It's every corner some form of disaster is always waiting. I feel like that's just motorsport in general, but Lime Rock especially, the trio of AMGs all looking to benefit off the mistakes of another. But no, the outlook of this race just sort of seems like, hey, I'm behind somebody. Maybe I'm just kind of okay with that. And allow yourself a lot of space. Allow yourself to sort of focus on your race rather than anybody else's. And just not make any mistakes. Wyatt Johnson, as a result of being a bit of right place, right time, keeping a cool head, is now in the top 5 in what I've realized. And I don't think Wyatt Johnson's brought this Ferrari out, because I feel like I would have noticed, is the Triarsi Competizione WeatherTech GTD car, which might be my favorite 296 that's in current competition. I don't know why. It's just red. There's nothing that intricate about the livery, but it is very photographable. It's very pretty, I think. And I don't know, I'm not the biggest 296 guy, but I'm a big fan of the Triarsi car, so I appreciate Wyatt Johnson bringing it around. Looking into the YouTube chat, thank you everybody for joining us. Lots of DTC fans, the DTC drivers being James O'Brien and Piotr Shabilsky, currently holding these first and third place spots. So it's a good day to be a DTC fan, a good day to be a DTC driver at the moment. But thank you all for being here and joining us for another week. We're getting ready to close this championship out, though. Of course, season 3 season 2, excuse me, is well underway in preparation. A couple different things will be changing. Lots of opportunities for new faces. Lots of opportunities for champions to defend their position. Maybe. The one thing that won't change is I will still be here, for better or for worse, every week I can for that championship as well. So I hope you'll be here to join us. But Jesse, 15 minutes in, a couple moments, but generally not a lot of drama. I think we're in for a bit of a relaxing-ish drive this evening.
Pretty much what I expected, to be honest. A little bit of drama in the beginning, several cars going off. We have had 4 very quick DNFs. I don't think I would have called that. Of course, most of that the result of, well, this chicane right here several laps ago. But other than that, it has been what we kind of expected. And now we have a trio of Mercedes AMGs in the middle of this pack, all fighting each other in equal sort of spec as it would be, and all of them about equal distance from each other after they've just about got it sorted out.
All right, Jesse, it's on the minds of every single motorsport enthusiast. I'm just gonna say we're gonna talk about the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Of course, it's going to begin in about 36 hours. I know we had our little group pick'ems situation, but I mean, it's hard to predict winners of a 24-hour race. But do you have a favorite to win, I guess, on Sunday?
Well, Jack, that would depend. How important is qualifying in a 24-hour race?
It isn't at all. I had this conversation with a few of my friends because there's that drama with the Cadillac losing their lap time and not finishing on pole, and in fact getting the BMW ending up on pole position. I'm noticing Anthony Madonia seems to be going a little bit slowly, and it has now become a 4-way battle pretty quickly. That BMW, speaking of BMWs, this one, though not going quite as fast as the V8 hybrid hypercar, I'm thinking maybe Madonia made a bit of a mistake early on. I do see there's a bit of an off-track violation for the BM last lap, so I think it brought the fight in. But no, qualifying doesn't matter. It's interesting talking about hyperpole. It's a lot of fun watching it, but after 24 hours, whether you start, 10 feet in front of the guy that you want to beat or 50 feet, it really doesn't make too big of a difference. Having a look-see.
Looking down to the inside is the number 7 of Santa Bria, and wasn't able to make that inside move, but quite smartly indeed falls back in line behind Madonia and keeps the Wolves at the door. Kent and Borman, of course, opportunistically taking a little look, but nothing else going on between the two of them. Of course, we're talking about the 24 Hours of Le Mans this weekend. If you're watching this back on VOD, you may be wondering why. It's because if you check the upload date of this video, it took place, as Jack said, less than 48 hours before the start of the 2026 running of the 24 Le Mans. I will say, Jack, about our pick'ems that we did, as a move here may be made down into turn number 1. They are fully alongside, and it's all gone wrong.
That was not ideal for Anthony Madonia, just as he was being spurred on by hands and toes in the YouTube chat for their good defense. It all fell apart at the end of the day, and
oh dear,
for the heck of it, let's just watch that again. 'Cause I'm curious, maybe where exactly it went wrong for the BMW. It was a touch. I wasn't sure if there was one, but it absolutely was Javi Sanabria putting the front left into the rear right of the BM. Not exactly the way you want to make a move happen. I think a steward may have just perked up all of a sudden. I think that may have actually been a server side moment, because it seemed like Daniel Kent, as we had our little glitch there, Jesse, they had almost one of their own suddenly going straight instead of going right out of Big Bend. did I will this into existence by saying we haven't had a lot of drama?
Well, the old commentator's curse is you say stuff and then it happens. We're talking about our 24-hour team picks, and I didn't want to bring this up, but since you brought up Hyperpole, did you happen to notice that all of my picks are qualified inside the top 5? Did you notice? And my LMP2 drivers on pole. Did you notice that I did the thing where I got, because I drafted quite early, I didn't get the best pick for LMP2, admittedly, but still picked the pole sitter. Doesn't get me any points in our pool, but you're right, though. It doesn't matter qualifying at Le Mans. Didn't Ferrari win it 2 years in a row coming from the back?
Pretty much entirely, yes. That is what
doesn't
occurred.
matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. 24 hours of racing. There's so much more that goes on outside of the one lap pace of a driver, and also, honestly, there's so much that goes on outside of just the pace of the driver in the car. The infinite wonder that is multi-class racing has its own part to play. Luck has a huge part to play. The reliability of your race car can be you either win or you lose on that. And it's so many things that the driver in the box can't control. But of course, the drivers are the heroes of the story. Thank your pit crew, by the way, and show some love for the people in every team's garage who gets it all done every race weekend. Just so you know, those people are wonderful. I feel like I'm saying that, making it sound like I'm one of them. I'm not. I'd be happy. Listen, if you want somebody to tighten the bolts on a race car, I'm so super down to do that. But no, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be exciting. It seems like motorsport in the past sort of 2 years has reached a new audience. I think the Nürburgring 24, because of a certain Dutchman, reached so many more people. It was a sold-out year. I think that's just going to become the case for endurance racing, and couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I can't believe I'm about to mention this particular woman on a motorsport stream, but a few years ago, if you were an American football fan, we were having this conversation about Taylor Swift and Kelsey, and like, is it a good thing that the Swiftie fandom was getting sort of more into football? And my whole takeaway from that was, if even just one of those Taylor Swift fans actually becomes a legitimate football fan, yeah, I think it's worth it. And the same thing with Max Verstappen doing GT racing, getting more eyes on GT racing, people that maybe preferably only watch Formula One for whatever reason, getting more into GT. Is it worth it? Absolutely. If it converts one person to watch more GT racing, to pick a favorite team, a favorite manufacturer, to follow a season, yes. Because at the end of the day, GT racing, in my mind, will always be the most important kind of racing. More important than Formula racing, more important than spec racing, GT racing with a good BOP, manufacturer identity, car branding identity, endurance racing in general, in my opinion, is more important. And if Max helps that cause, which he has done, in my opinion,
yeah,
it's great for the sport, it's great for all of us, and it just means we get more of it at the end of the day. What's not to like?
Of course. And I think that's maybe what some people maybe miss, is they're like, oh, who cares if whatever more people like the thing I like? Well, you get more of it, ultimately. It doesn't, more is going to happen, more money is going to be funneled into the sport, and, you get more days where things are happening on track, which is absolutely wonderful. While we were talking, though, it seems that by some ability, Paul Borman's made a move on Javier Sanabria. As quickly as Borman was behind, Borman's now ahead. I can only imagine, since they probably did it on the uphill section, maybe around the West Bend, that Javi had a bit of a moment But these trio, we're all looking. Speaking of things happening too fast to see, of course, Anna Maria De Pasquale, we were just looking at her, has made her move up into the top 6. So Benjamin Gallant now falling behind. I think we're getting just about into halfway, Jesse. I think the perfect driving record that most of these drivers had, by that I mean they haven't made any mistakes tonight. They're starting to get a little too comfortable, maybe just that little bit of fatigue. And I say that Anthony Madonia is now going slow, just to add to my points.
Yeah, I think Madonia had an off and then just, I don't know if they hit the wall or what, but they had an off and then they slowed down to let, I believe that was Kent through, or maybe that was a lead lap car. Not quite sure, but they certainly were out of the way on purpose. And I don't see too much in the way of damage on that car. So they may have just been doing that in the name of safety. Up front, Piotr Shabilski, qualified on pole, has led every lap thus far and enjoys a 2-second lead. A 2-second lead that's not really growing or depreciating here and hasn't done in some time. Pretty steady. What has changed is this. We ride on board James O'Brien's Mercedes AMG looking at the back of Michael Hickman's McLaren. This could have pretty large-reaching championship implications if James O'Brien, who is driven away from the championship leader O'Malley, if Hickman loses this spot, that's less points they will get. The gap will be further apart, and it will be easier for O'Malley to win the championship next week. Of course, if O'Malley passes Hickman themselves, then the championship is done here tonight. So having that buffer car in between the two of them is huge, but I dare say O'Brien has run down the McLaren, and I wonder how much longer that the number 2 can hold it.
And James O'Brien has not been a driver who's made it to every round thus far, but every time he shows up, he's always one of the quickest drivers of the bunch, pulling off really good performances on tracks that, speaking to him, he hasn't really favored. Just sort of being at peace with where he's at and taking advantage of situations. I dare say James O'Brien was able to make the 12 rounds of this championship, which is no small feat, mind you. That is one heck of a commitment. There could be a third gunner in the championship fight. It's going to be it's not going to be difficult to keep James O'Brien behind, I think, in the sense of, whoops, I've, placed my eyes, I say it. As I say it, a mistake from Michael Hickman on the chicane, taking too much of the curb to the right, puts him off and into the grass briefly, making it easy for James O'Brien. I just need to stop talking.
And here comes Paul O'Malley. The fight for the championship right here tonight is back on. Hickman must finish in front of O'Malley to prolong the championship fight to the finale in Brazil next week. And they're running nose to tail right now. Hickman has to will that car around here for 31 more minutes in front of the Ford Mustang of O'Malley. This is all that's in it. On the rear bumper camera of the McLaren, looking at the chartreuse green Mustang of Paul O'Malley, the driver that has been in charge of this championship for much of the second half, has the opportunity to end the year tonight in Connecticut, and he is there.
It's absolutely all over the back, but O'Malley's going down pit road, doing something different. We've talked about it week after week, and Jesse, you've said it better than I ever could. You will never win playing the other driver's game. Do something different, offset yourself on strategy, and bring up that opportunity. O'Malley's the first one in pit lane. As a reminder, cars are only able to use 55% of their fuel tank, so there's no mandatory pit stop in theory, though none of these cars can make a full race distance with only a little over half a tank. O'Malley certainly still has a bit of fuel in the car, but has elected that they are going to go in early. They're going to change it up. So it's Shabilski, O'Brien, Hickman, and we expect for an O'Malley somewhere inside this top 4 once the pit stops end. Javier Sanabria seems to be struggling just a bit. And if you're wondering where Paul O'Malley came out, he came out in 10th behind these two, a dueling pair that maybe, oh my lord!
Oh, he went big style over the curb. That's going to be humongous damage to the front of that WeatherTech AMG. There is no way that car is not severely damaged.
That is immediacy into pit lane for Javi Sanabria. I have never seen a GT3 race car get that airborne on a curb in my entire life.
I'm going to need a new splitter, 4 new tires, and a fresh change of underpants.
Oh my Lanta, possibly a new race suit because it might have soaked through at that point. But Paul O'Malley, I was going to say he might get caught up behind the fight between Sanabria and Kent that was ahead of him. But now that Kent's moved out of the way, that's kind of resulted that I think it's going to be a net positive for Paul O'Malley. He's got a bit more clear air to run in. The hope is he doesn't catch up to the back of Daniel Kent, which might slow him down, but that was unbelievable. I genuinely wish that I was able to give a replay of that in all slow motion in 4K and all the cameras available, but unfortunately, I can't.
What do you think? About 6-7 feet in the air there, something like that. Uphill, too. Sounds like something my granddad used to say. We used to wreck 6-7 feet uphill back in my day. But the car, it looked like a dragster leaving the line. But it just, that is a possibility. Those gigantic red turtle curbs and just hit it directly in the middle of that splitter. That would have, ladies and gentlemen, that would have caused severe damage to the front of that car. Lengthy repair on top of a normal pit stop as more and more cars come in. Michael Hickman is in the pit lane. Wyatt Johnson is in the pit lane. O'Malley doing well after their stop. Daniel Kent is in the lane. Gallant and I believe Sanabria have already done their stop a lap or so ago. Lead couple of cars still yet to pit, including the now third place Anne-Marie Di Pasquale, who I hate seeing on track because that car reminds me of Neapolitan ice cream. I believe I mentioned that a few weeks in a row. And my round behind does not need any more ice cream.
Well, I'll take it off the screen for you. It got me thinking about ice cream too.
Save my diet, please.
I might go make a milkshake once all is said and done. It's Piotr Shabilski ticking down the laps before I assume he runs out of fuel. Will it be this one? Will it be one more? I don't know, but I will say he's actually got Paul O'Malley in his sights. This is, of course, a very short track, and it's still the same pit stop length, ultimately, that we've been experiencing all season. So it is got to be maybe a little encouraging if you're Shabilski to be looking out your front windshield and you're like, who's that? Who's that? Hey, that's James Brown. Hey! Or, excuse me, that's not James Brown. That's Paul O'Malley. That's the championship leader. I'm within reason of lapping this guy, even though is it by a net result? Absolutely not. But you know what I mean, Jesse? It's just one of those things that might spur you on. Maybe it's a little carrot to chase, a little stick to get you whooping and get you going.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a shot in the arm whenever you're so far ahead. Of course, has a pit stop left to give, but it gives you an idea in your head of where you are and where you should be. As our leader of the race, Piotr Shabilski will come into the pit lane. I will say that right in front of our leader, Matthew Sosi, had a huge moment in the chicane and limped the car around to the pit lane. So Sosi is in the lane again. This time, I suspect with damage. I don't know if they monster trucked the curb the way we saw earlier on. But one thing's for sure is that Porsche was very slow, stopped even in the chicane, and has now made an additional stop down the lane. With Piotr Shabilski coming in, however, that will complete the cycle as Anthony Madonia has also come and gone. Shabilski released from the lane, and all is well and good. Will cycle right behind Anne-Marie Di Pasquale, so has lapped up to 7th place in this race right now. Good news, bad news, huge lead now over O'Brien was 2.5 seconds. It's over 5 seconds now. The gap first to second. That overcut doing Shabilsky really well. O'Brien up to second in the pit stop cycle. So the early stop from O'Brien was excellent. Hickman in third. O'Malley was unable to use the undercut to their advantage. Excuse me, O'Brien did the overcut. O'Malley did the undercut, but was unable to close that gap. In fact, may have actually lost out ever so slightly trying to do that undercut on Michael Hickman.
Yeah, and of course the overcut, the effectiveness of it is such that in theory, the more fuel you use, the longer you go, the less fuel you will need in your pit stop. Therefore, let's say somebody behind you, they stop 5 laps early, the likes of Paul O'Malley. All right, they got to take an extra so-and-so liters of fuel to get to the end that you won't need to take, and that's free time on circuit if you get it right. And seeming to be that the overcut today is absolutely the way to go, as O'Brien and Shabilsky, the two DTC drivers running 1-2 for the team, made the best use of that of anybody in the field. They've got oodles of time on this circuit. 4 seconds is quite a lot and feels like a lot more on a short shoot like this, though. Jesse, it's getting to that point. We saw a little bit of it moments ago of maybe a little bit of lapping traffic, slowing some of these cars down, maybe bringing fights together that we weren't expecting. It still leaves the unpredictable element left in this race.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these drivers, if you're by yourself, you're probably just going to move over and let the leader go through when you get blue flagged. But the problem with that is if you are racing someone, you can't just, you know, Mom, I'm racing online, I can't pause. You know, it's one of those things like, hey, I know you're the leader, but I can't just stop my race because you're behind me. If you're quicker, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. Now, the important thing that they don't do is block the leader or impede them in any way. That's a very big no-no in motorsport. But if there is a battle that Shabilsky or any of the leaders come up on, they're going to have to be very careful indeed, because 2 other cars fighting and you're trying to pick your way through that, it's a very dangerous situation, can change your race in an absolute instant. And I bring that up because of what we're watching right here. Daniel Kent and Paul Borman, 2 of those, or not Paul Borman, that's actually Anne-Marie DePasquale. I think they're on 2 different laps, but kind of illustrates the point. If they're racing each other, then you got to be even more careful if you're a leader picking your way through.
No particular reason I'm asking this question. I don't know, it's just something that's popped into my head. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh man, actually I got into a fight with my family recently about this, because my favorite ice cream is orange sherbet, but my wife says that's not ice cream, because it isn't. I guess it doesn't have milk in it or something, so therefore it's not ice cream. So I guess like I'm a fudge caramel guy, I guess.
I would honestly
actual ice cream.
I would accept sherbet as an ice cream, just because I feel like we're splitting hairs at that point. Like, are we going to claim that gelato, because it's different and Italian, isn't ice cream? No, that's ice cream. That is a frozen sweet treat.
Here's my argument, Jack. Here's my argument. I lose this argument every weekend when we go grocery shopping. Is it in the ice cream section? Yes, then it's ice cream. I
agree. I'm fully on board with you here. I just want you to know that I will not be like your family and be wrong. So I'll join your team and be right.
Hey, I'll let you tell her that. I just don't want to be anywhere within swinging distance.
I will not.
Shabilsky working their way through the field. James O'Brien in P2 is closing the gap ever so slightly. I suspect that might have something to do with the tire temp. But here is Paul O'Malley and Hickman, and this could be the fight for the championship. Side by side in the tightest part of the racetrack. They're going to make it somehow.
It's unbelievable. We've seen a couple of... Actually, I don't even think we've seen anybody within sniffing distance of giving that move a shot. These two, of course, championship contenders, are going to go at it. Unfortunately for Hickman, didn't quite work out, but what an attempt there, showing that O'Malley cannot rest on their laurels. They cannot hope for anything else. But O'Malley making the position up, and Hickman having to relegate to once again be stuck behind the Mustang, a sight that's been seen time and time again. This is pretty much our regular 1-2 finishing order in majority of the season has been O'Malley, Hickman. I think Hickman's going to want a little bit of revenge. Michael, if you're listening, if you beat O'Malley, I'll give you some ice cream.
By the way, just into the broadcast booth, my wife has corrected me that orange sherbet's not my favorite ice cream. My favorite ice cream is creamsicle. And I love her telling me what my favorite ice cream is, but she's right, actually. It is creamsicle, which is a variant of orange sherbet, etc., and so forth.
I do love the idea that hey, you know what they say, the wife knows best, and in your case,
Listen,
she did. She knows you better than you.
I'll default to what, yeah, I mean, I default to what she says, but no, she's absolutely right. It is creamsicle, which is a slightly different variant, but considering there's no milk in that, and it's not ice cream, it's sort of a fudge caramel Ben & Jerry's affair, I would have to say. What is yours, actually?
The funny thing was, I asked this question very regularly. I ask people questions not knowing my own answer for it. I really enjoy... I actually don't eat that much ice cream, I will say rather plainly. It's not my favorite go-to sweet treat, but I'm more of a baked goods guy. I really like a good baked good. But I'm a big fan of chocolate chip cookie dough.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like that's my go-to flavor if and when I go for a pint or larger, knowing me. So I'll stick with that answer. I think I just heard a little collision there, as it sort of created a situation where Daniel Kent was able to, or Paul Borman, excuse me, was able to get up through Daniel Kent. I'm wondering who went into who there. I
don't think they made contact, Jack. I think what you heard is the car scraping against the curb.
Oh,
and the tire squealing. Right. I don't think Daniel Kent made contact with anyone or anything other than the racetrack, and poor Anne-Marie DePasquale just sort of in the middle of all of that, trying to make their way around the chicane and the mobile chicane in the chicane. But as far as I know, nobody made any sort of meaningful contact. Paul Borman able to get their way around and get all of those passes done. And that scary moment could have been worse indeed. Baked goods, huh?
Baked goods.
We'll continue the conversation because we're looking at the Neapolitan car.
Really like a good coconut cake. Really, really enjoy a good coconut cake.
Are you sure we're not related?
Oh,
I know we've had this conversation 500,000 times, but are you sure?
I can't say that we aren't.
Yeah.
So
we do love a coconut cake, and I mean, even like coconut cream pie is really good, but I gotta be in the mood for pie at that point. I'm not the biggest pie person, but regardless, coconut anything like coconut those little coconut power bar things.
Oh yeah. Do you like an almond joy? I feel like almond joys are very.
Yeah.
Most people don't like them, but I'm like, they're great.
No, I love them. I love it. Anytime you pair chocolate and coconut together is fantastic. The darker the chocolate, the better, in my opinion.
Yep.
When it comes to coconut, but just in general, I am a coconut enjoyer. Always have been.
Yep. No, I'm trying to think. Besides, I'm trying to think of a even more precise way to hone in on a baked good item. Let's see, if you were to, you know what, breakfast muffins. What's your go-to breakfast muffin?
I don't know if it counts. I don't know if it counts, but I like banana nut, and I also like I don't even know what they're called, but like the raisin, but the ones with like the sort of the frosting drizzle on top that's clear. I don't even know what that's called. I know I get them in like
no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds good.
it's like a raisin muffin, but it's got like some kind of glaze on top of it.
You know,
really good.
You know what we're doing? You know what I've just realized? This is going to be...
This is a cooking show.
Well,
is what this has turned
also,
into.
yes, this has turned into the late night Le Mans commentary experience. Because if any of you, and as Americans, it's very easy for us to do because, of course, we're a few hours behind. This is what you get when you sit in, and it's 3, 4 in the morning, the witching hour in France, and you try to listen to what the commentators have to say. It's a lot about nothing. And the beautiful thing is, well, in their case, they have a race director probably telling them maybe to talk about something else. I technically am the director, believe it or not, and I think what we're talking about is great.
Welcome to the ARL podcast, hosted by Jack. I think is what's going on here tonight. We're talking about different baked goods off the racetrack. Could have been scary for Paul O'Malley, but makes it look absolutely academic, despite the fact that that was very scary and would have been for almost anyone else. For those of you just tuning in, Paul O'Malley has one mission tonight, and that's beat Michael Hickman and become champion-elect ahead of the final round next week. It wasn't easy, but right now it's box ticked for Paul O'Malley. Michael Hickman behind them in 4th place. O'Malley up to 3rd. O'Brien in 2nd place was catching Shabilsky, but that has started to go the other way. Paul O'Malley 6 seconds adrift of the P2 Mercedes AMG pictured here. And of course, O'Malley starting to pull away from Michael Hickman, but we are at Lime Rock. Anything is possible in the dying embers, the waning moments. 13 minutes left to go. And if you haven't already and you're in chat, or maybe you're watching this back on VOD, drop a comment, drop a message. Tell us what your favorite dessert is, considering we've been chatting about it for the past 10 to 15 minutes. I would say, Jack, you and I, very similar indeed for our favorite sort of dessert or baked good. I'm not a very picky person to begin with. Is there anything you won't accept as a dessert slash sweet?
Mood dependent. I'm not very picky, but sometimes a too much chocolate is just, I'm not gonna go for it. Like sometimes I don't really want a brownie. I don't really want a straight chocolate cake. But for the most part, there's virtually anything that if it's bad for me and it fits in my mouth, I will absolutely enjoy it. It does seem that we're getting the answers thick and fast, but we've also created an environment where people are getting up from the stream and going to get ice cream and to sit back down. I would like to apologize.
Oh my goodness.
So Real Smooth Brain says cheesecake. I would say, what kind of cheesecake? I feel like I'm a big cheesecake enjoyer, but like there's a lot of, you know what I also really like? Flan. Really big flan guy. Bread pudding.
You know what?
Is a great one.
Underrated flan, actually.
I agree. Fully agree.
Yeah.
And as I say that, flan is immediately the response from the Real Smooth Brain.
I came from a Hispanic house, grew up with flan.
Yep.
If you haven't had it, please do. Completely agree. Yep.
Wouldn't change a thing, but we have homemade tiramisu, hot fudge sundae, and a second from cheesecake by the one and only Ted Piper, who is claiming to be my supervisor, and my response was, nuh-uh, you can't stop me.
Yeah.
I suppose it's technically true. Ted is the reason that I'm here by some semblance. He asked me if I wanted to come and do iRacing many moons ago. I did it, and now I haven't stopped, and there are no signs of stopping. We've been asked, what is flan? And it's kind of a difficult thing to explain.
The only way I've ever explained flan to somebody is it's a coffee dessert.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to explain it beyond that. I don't know how to make it. But like, it's something I associate with coffee.
I feel like it kind of is, but it's not a coffee
For better or
flavor.
worse. Yeah.
It's
If you know how to make flan and are watching the broadcast, please do tell us how to make it. I've never made it. I don't know how to make it. I don't know anyone who knows how to make it. But it's one of those things that if I can't decide, I will go for. Simply because it's sort of more rare than the other stuff. And I couldn't agree with you more, Jack, about chocolate cake. I think you and I have talked about this before about I'm not the world's biggest chocolate enjoyer. I will eat chocolate. I think chocolate is fine. But there is a such thing as too much.
I agree. Absolutely. We're seeing a Jello but coffee caramel, and I would agree with that, actually.
Hey, dude, I love this chat. Move here, trying to get by. That wasn't for position, or was it?
That was not for position. That's Paul O'Malley lapping Paul Borman. Paul on Paul. Well, I was going to say violence, but that wasn't violent at all. That was perfectly normal, though it has brought Daniel Kent.
For sure.
Paul on Paul, or the Paul Orchestra, as it is tonight. But let's open the door. Paul Borman had to back off a bit. Now Daniel Kent's under half a second, or under, closing in to almost half a second on Borman. So the AMG on AMG action will continue, and the car to blame for the entirely off the rails dessert-based conversation is this car.
Yep.
The Neapolitan.
I blamed Anne-Marie for this earlier, by the way, and I do apologize. Anne-Marie's driving a Ford, not an AMG, and that was completely on me.
I forgive you.
Well, it's Paul Borman's fault, and I appreciate that. I will correct myself. This is all Paul Borman's fault. We got on this discussion. We started with ice cream. We went to other baked goods and desserts. Do you ever have a savory dessert, Jack, instead of a sweet one?
I do on occasion. I'm trying to think of like a go-to savory dessert, and I rarely enough that not a good one comes to mind. Do you have something on the brain that you're thinking right now? You're like, that sounds good.
Not particularly. I do know that some people will favor that they don't really have a sweet tooth, so their desserts are more sort of savory in nature. I did know somebody one time who, as a dessert, and this is a culinary crime. I'm not condoning this. For dessert, they would have mashed potatoes and gravy as a dessert. Because they didn't like sweet stuff, and they would just have like a scoop of mash with a home-style gravy on it, and that was what they would eat.
That is
weird,
insane.
Right? It's weird. Yeah, I went to college with some interesting individuals. Where is Zanatti? Did not show up this evening. Was not in the race at all, as far as we're aware. Jack, do you have more?
No Juju on track. I do not have more than that, other than the Italian Stallion is not with us tonight, which I think, given how a few people's races went trying to follow Zanatti through around the circuit last week at St. Petersburg, I think they're okay with that. There's been enough going on, as yet again we heard it from an AMG hitting the curb the wrong way. It sounds like something broke for Paul Borman, but this time an opportunity's not there, though, into the downhill. Just about. Yeah, we started with the Le Mans 24, briefly spoke about that, then we moved on to dessert, and now we're still on dessert. I feel like I've come up with my go-to savory dessert that I've had and enjoyed, like an olive oil kind of cake, where it's not really sweet, but it's that kind of, it's still a kind of cakey thing, but sort of sugariness isn't the goal. But other than that, I'm not somebody who's like, give me some cheese and wine for dessert. Not that kind of girl.
So I am that kind of girl, and that is my go-to. My go-to savory dessert is some variety of cheese on a flatbread or a cracker. That is preferably with a green olive.
All right. It has seen no fault with that. Reasonably. I feel like the mashed
it's
potatoes
salty,
is a
it's
little bit too far,
savory.
but like a sort of
Listen, when you're
charcuterie
poor
type
and
thing.
in college, yeah, charcuterie, but without meat, I suppose.
Yes.
Is what I would describe it, because I don't want to have after dinner salami. That just doesn't. I'll have salami with dinner, but not after dinner. That's too far, Jack. Don't be silly. 4.5 minutes left of the race. Everything just about tucked up except the Paul Borman Daniel Kent fight that continues for right around 8th place. Everybody else has at least 4 or 5 seconds between them. If you're joining us just now, rewind and watch the whole thing. What are you doing? Piotr Shabilski has led the entire way, had an excellent getaway. James O'Brien has been up and down, but has settled into P2. Paul O'Malley looking like champion-elect in P3 after getting by Michael Hickman. Wyatt Johnson has had a quiet race in the Italian Stallion in 5th. Emery DePascal has also had a quiet race in 6th place in their Ford Mustang. Gallant, pretty quiet after the opening going as well. Behind them has been chaos between Kent Borman, Sanabria, Sosi, Madonia, and everyone else. Of course, several DNFs. We had 4 of them quite quickly. And just recently, Madonia has retired in the BMW, leaving us with 11 cars circulating with 3.5 minutes left in the race.
It's been a bit of a quieter one than I feel that we've gotten used to, and that's not always a bad thing. Not every race of every season of every championship of every day needs to be the absolute pedal to the metal, gas them up, I'm not lifting until I meet God or the checkered flag type of racing. However, when they do come, it is an absolute joy. But I just feel like there's nights like this that are good for the drivers, especially you're coming through a long championship, and obviously you're never relaxing per se behind the wheel of a race car, but you're not concerned. You're sort of able to reconnect with the machine you've been driving week after week and sort of focus your eyes towards the end of the season. And I don't know, it's I'm trying to think of a good metaphor, but I'm not coming up with much. But it's just it's still been a good race tonight, by all means.
I won't give you a metaphor, but I will give you sort of food for thought and for everyone at home, and this is sort of a race mantra that you can use. I'd rather have a slightly boring race where it was uneventful and I got out of there with a top 10 versus a chaotic race where I didn't even get to finish. So thank your lucky stars. Some races, they don't all have to be uber exciting. You don't have to be the main character for every single race. Sometimes getting to the checkered flag is its own reward, and doing it in a fashion that doesn't cause your hair to stand on end, turn white, and or fall out, I think is sort of more important some of the time. Peter Shabilski has had that race today and is the main character, putting in an excellent effort. I think it goes without saying, but we'll say it anyway. Just a masterclass around what is an unassuming yet very difficult racetrack.
I'm still thinking about the way you started the race. That was, I see it on my Instagram feed regularly of people who post clips of old racing stuff. You always come across the, wow, look at this guy on the restart, this guy regularly being Max Verstappen, where you just kind of, you weave around a lot. Because of course in iRacing, it's up to the leading car. Once the safety car pulls in, you're not waiting for a green flag, you're not waiting for green lights. It is up to the leading car to determine ultimately when the race starts. Of course, when they start the start-finish line, it will start on its own, but the race leader, the pole sitter, can do it on their own. But he's just sort of weaving around. Everybody's probably looking. They're like, all right, what's up? Are we going to get going? And without skipping a beat, puts his foot down from a slide and just goes, and was half a second up before they got to the first braking zone. It was a statement of intent under very little pressure, pretty much all race. And this will be the white flag for the final lap of the race. The final 49 seconds Perhaps maybe a 48 if Piotr's feeling a little froggy, puts his foot down extra hard. But Jesse, I think you're right. I'm gonna echo what you said. Sometimes an easier going race and a good result is better than a crazy one that ends up a little bit wrong. But everything I would say has gone just about right for Piotr Shabilski.
It really has. It's been just about perfect for the driver of the number 9 Ford Mustang GT3, and they're going to get their desserts tonight. See what I did there? I made it all come back together again in the end. Rounding the final corner and coming to get the checkered flag, it's Piotr Shabilski from the pole to the win here in Lime Rock.
Unbelievable drive. James O'Brien, of course, not far behind. And Paul O'Malley's not going to be far behind that. But of course, Paul O'Malley doesn't take the victory tonight, but takes victory in the championship. If my math is correct, and it usually is, the championship is to Paul O'Malley. Michael Hickman will not take it to the final round, will not take it to Brazil, and will have to settle with 4th place today. Wyatt Johnson to cross the finish line within the top 5. And most drivers, interestingly enough, as how the circuit went around today, everybody's pretty much done. And I think Anne-Marie De Pasquale is going to be the last to cross the line. In 6th place, Gallant 7th, Kent 8th, Borman in 9th, Avi Sanabria in 10th, and Matthew Sosi with the wooden spoon rounds it out in 11th. As everybody's going for a nice little parade lap. Job kind of
well,
on
it only
border.
takes a minute.
It only takes just a little bit of time, and most electing to head down pit lane, except maybe
a couple of misfits might be setting up to have a little fun here. Michael Hickman is going to do some donuts. Yeah, well, we all know what Michael Hickman's favorite dessert is.
It's donuts. My question is, which donut? I was gonna say, are they gonna do a synchronized drift, but not quite. A little bit of rear into front. They like smoking here, but this is the healthy kind. Probably a slightly more expensive smoking habit, though.
Yeah, it only slightly in today's day and age, but I don't know if it's healthy or not. But I love it. I love seeing drivers, regardless of where you finish, just getting to the finish, as I said sometimes, is a win in and of itself. Multiple drivers inside the top 5 celebrating, finishing here at Lime Rock. Well, we weren't quite sure, Jack, what we were going to get here tonight in Connecticut, but we got a good race, some excellent passing inside and outside of the top 5, some drama as well, and a worthy winner as always. Of course, right now we are joined by Piotr Shabilski. Jack is down there with him.
Piotr, just another stellar drive from you. It seems that when you're feeling it, boy, you're feeling it. And I feel like Lime Rock's one of those tracks that not enough people think about, not enough people talk about. But a great day for you. I mean, talk me through it.
Yeah, I guess yesterday I did some practice to see what the pace was normally like for quickness. And then I just kind of just started playing with strategy a little bit. And I guess today worked out pretty well. Stayed pretty consistent throughout the whole race. Made maybe one mistake, but other than that, the pit stop strategy worked perfectly. So it was pretty good. Better than I expected, to be honest.
And I mean, I talked about it at the beginning when you did it. I talked about it after, but your race start was pretty much balletic. It reminded me of it was almost more of a safety car restart type of tactic rather than what you normally see at a race start. A little bit of weaving, lull them to sleep, and then put your foot to the floor. Was that always the plan? Were you like, oh, this is what I'm going to do? Or was it just a spur of the moment thought?
I want to say it's more of a spur. I will say spur in the moment because I'm like, let's see if I can catch Hickman napping a little bit, doing a weave and then gutting it. And I guess it worked. So I built a nice gap, and then it was playing the game of lifting and coasting, keeping a nice solid gap to him.
You did it right. You did it fair, and you did it with I was gonna say little to no effort, but that's not true. It just looked so darn easy for you out there, and I mean the championship not in your hands and not in your ability, but there's still a gap to Michael Hickman. Maybe you're third now. Are you thinking you could take that step forward to second?
Uh, Once I see the updated standings, uh, I would like to be in fight for second, but this race mainly my head was try to secure third, which I feel like I did pretty well at. So I accomplished what in my head that I need to do, and then we'll just see how Interlagos goes and see if I can snatch second from Hickman.
Well, I can tell you, you are 13 points behind Michael Hickman going into the finale. So,
All right, that's doable.
not an
We'll find out.
insurmountable gap. Not an
No,
insurmountable gap, my friend. Well, congratulations on another victory. And my one final question are you planning on coming back for next season?
uh, most likely I would say this season was pretty fun. I would say for the least. So I'm looking forward to how this new pro am split championship will be. So I hope it's a little bit bigger grid as well as well. So yeah,
Well, I hope for the same for your sake and for mine, because when we have a big grid, it is absolutely wonderful. But nights like
definitely.
tonight are all right. But congratulations one final time. Best of luck in the finale. Best of luck trying to clinch your second place in the championship. And thank you for being here. Anybody you want to shout out before you go?
Uh, I mean I'll shout out GeForce where I first started sim racing and where I actually got more into this like ARL thing because that's where I met everyone who did ARL. So I will say shout out to GeForce because I'm also racing with them for a shop to shop national league. So that's also been fun and that they picked me. So yeah, shout out to GeForce.
Well,
Sim Racing Lab Lounge, of course.
well, thank you, Piotr, for joining us one final time,
Of
and have
course.
a fantastic night.
Thank you as well, guys.
From the man who's hoping to take second, Jesse Lee has found the man who has taken first. He is down with our championship victor, Paul O'Malley.
Paul O'Malley, champion elect after Lime Rock. 1 round left to go. But, Paul, let's talk about Lime Rock. That could have been an absolute disaster today. It looked like you were the better car at times. It looked like you lacked a little something at certain times. You didn't get the pass done on the undercut, but you were able to drive up there and get by the driver that you needed to get by. What a fantastic display from a champion elect. Tell us about your entire day from start to finish. What was going through your mind?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no kidding. Definitely almost threw it away there going through the pit cycle. Saw Michael coming out and just kind of lost where I was looking and about sailed it off there. Could have ended it all right there. But no, it was a tough day. I don't know. I did not have the pace that everybody else did through turns 8 and 9. It seemed like they were able to just hold it flat throughout there, but I was dealing with so much push and understeer. Was just trying to hang on early in the race, just pushing a little too hard, making some early mistakes, but was able to make up for it by the end.
According to our math, Paul, you are champion elect. Can you maybe summarize what that means to you? Basically, we're going to go to Brazil next week, and you're going to have a victory lap as the champion. Can you put into words how that makes you feel? What you're thinking?
Still kind of feels surreal right now. I didn't think I'd actually lock it out a race early, so it hasn't quite fully set in yet. But happy to be a part of this series. I've really enjoyed the racing here. Really looking forward to next season. I'm glad to hear that everybody's coming back. We've got a lot of great competitors that are going to fill out the pro class. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, Paul, finally, just got to ask anyone you want to thank or shout out for you this championship season?
I just want to say hats off to Piotr today. He had a just fantastic day. Really showed us all how to take a lap around Landmark Park and kind of took us all to school. So great job. Kudos to him. Thanks to the family for all the support. They've been watching the races and cheering me on. It's been fun to chat with them about the race. my son particularly likes talking to me about all the times I go in the pits. So I'm looking forward to talking to him about how everything about went wrong in my pit cycle this time. So thank you guys for your support. Love you.
Paul O'Malley, champion-elect here in ARL for the iRacing GT3 Thursdays. 1 round left, but it won't matter for the champion, Paul O'Malley. Congratulations.
Well, Jesse, we saw some great racing. We talked about some great desserts. I mean, what more could you ask for in a motorsport event than what we got tonight? Of course, one final round next week before we start preparing for the new season. I loved it tonight, and I hope everybody who watched enjoyed. But any final thoughts from you? Any Jesse wisdoms?
Yeah, you know what, Jack? Sometimes the best dessert are the races along the way. And that's kind of what this race felt like. Felt like the theme of the evening. This was a little bit of dessert, especially if you're O'Malley or Piotr Shabilski. It was a delicious dessert. It may have tasted a little bitter for O'Malley early on, but they were able to get the breaks they needed. They were able to find the pace when they needed it. And boy, does being a race winner and also a champion taste so sweet.
Couldn't have said it better myself, my friend, but that will be the end of our broadcast here tonight for the penultimate round of the Thursday GT3 series. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. And if you're interested in joining any of the fun, head over to americasracinglead.com, where all the information you could possibly need regarding what we do here and when we do it. And I'll take you to SimGrid. I'll take you to the Discord channel. Join the Discord. Come hang out. It's a wonderful community. If there's a sim you like and there's a time you like to drive it, chances are there is an event to suit your style. We are getting close enough to the weekend where I feel like I'm allowed to say, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Watch the Le Mans 24, as much of it as you can. At the very least, watch the start, watch the end. I won't judge you too much. But enjoy yourself. Be safe. And we look forward to seeing you all very soon.